What is going on, Comic Fam? It's your boy, the Bearded Comic Bro, and I am joined by comedian, author, musician, podcaster, comic book writer, Dave Hill. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Man, I'm excited. You've been just involved in so many avenues of media and things like that. Like, I'm just curious, like, what's after comic book writing now? What's going to be next on your just total domination of the world?
I don't know about domination, but uh I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I know what I'm doing like kind of right after the comic comes out or whatever. The rest of the year I'm touring a lot like and supposed to do a couple movies acting in and then who knows?
Who
Who,
knows? I
who knows?
I love it. And one of the things I always like about prepping for these interviews, I try and consume as much content that the person creates, and you've created a lot between music and comedy shows. And my wife and I watched the Pride of Cleveland special the other day,
Oh,
uh,
thank you.
and I was actually just up in Cleveland this weekend for a Comic Con, so
Oh, nice. How was that?
it was good. It was at the Huntington Bank Convention Center, so it was a fun time.
Oh, nice.
But you're
Excellent.
dipping your toe now into comics. Is this your
Yeah.
first foray into comics?
Yes and no. Like
Okay.
I initially, I wanted to be like a graphic novelist or illustrator, you know, right at like, in my 20s, I was sort of started like working on that, and then but I was playing in a band at the same time, and then we got a record deal, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do that, and then so I kind of drifted away from doing visual art for a while, and it was more like music and then into comedy and writing and stuff. And so I kind of totally forgotten about it,
Mhm.
even though being a fan of comics and stuff. And then this kind of just came about really like kind of gradually and organically, and so it's really cool to kind of now be back doing something I wanted to do, like, right out of college. And, I still do a lot of drawing and painting and stuff, but I'm super psyched to just be doing the writing on this one, because I think if first of all, Artie M. Toplin is such an amazing artist, and I'm so psyched, uh, to be collaborating with him on this. And yeah, people, sometimes friends are like, "Oh, did you draw it?" And I'm like, it would take me like 20 years to draw a comic book at the pace that I draw. And people would be like, "Wait, that's not the same guy that there in that frame. Wait, that's the same guy?
Why do they
He
look
doesn't look
different?
it." Um, but though I did draw one of the variant covers that's coming out, which is also features my blood in the ink.
Oh,
Um,
win a little Stanley kiss there.
yeah, me and the publisher Hunter Goranson from Oni Press and the editor Carl Ballers, we committed fully. And so one of the variant covers it is a drawing that I did, and that issue will have our blood in the ink. And that's been another awesome thing. Artium did all four issues and all the covers, but then there's all these variant covers, like limited edition by different artists and stuff. So I'm super psyched, like, for people to see all this stuff, and I'm excited. I'm hoping. I don't. Assuming maybe I'll get copies of everything, but who
I would hope
knows?
so.
Maybe you would hope, but who knows? I'm partially like I'm like, oh, I better get out there and snatch them up before everyone else does.
Well,
So,
I'll put an extra order in my comic shop for you if you in case you don't get them.
oh, thank you. Yeah. But yeah, I'm psyched, and it's, I've seen like some of the, finished, the first issue, of course,
Mhm.
everything. And it's just an amazing, the whole process has been really cool. Like I wrote a few, like one page things and stuff like, what, in my 20s, but I never wrote like, full issues and really kind of distilling, the whole process, even the format of the
Yeah.
scripts was different from, screenwriting or, TV script or something like that. So it's like really learning all that stuff and also just the economy of comics. Like you can't have people just blah 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 blah. You got to think what's really going on here.
Right.
And it was cool not to be like, oh, precious about it, but it made me go like, oh, I feel like hopefully I'll be better at other form, screenplays and things now that I've sort of, just like learning like what 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 you can fit onto a page and in a panel in comic books is makes you very quickly realize like how much fat is in your story when you're like, oh, I only have X amount of pages and X amount of panels and can only have this much, because like the
Yeah.
first draft of the comic book was like there wouldn't have been any room for drawing. It would have just been like
Yeah.
speech bubbles everywhere.
You've written, I believe, what, four novels, like so, and like you said, you've been involved in other mediums. How was it then for you of, learning to transition then of your writing style for a comic of, like you said, trimming the fat at parts?
Yeah, it was really like, you know, it had to be like pretty hasty about it and
Yeah.
like very ruthless. And the story of Dark Regards comes from, some years back. I was just like uh really, I'm a big metal fan and was into black metal, but also like kind of fascinated with it. And I just started emailing. There was this website, Full Moon Productions 666, FMP666.com, which I don't think is functioning any longer, but they had a contact page of all these um, black metal bands. And I just, one night, just for my own entertainment, having no intention of anyone ever seeing it, I just started emailing them and being like, hey, like, is there another band? I did it to like all these bands. I was like, is there another band called so and so? Like, because I heard this band is supposed to be really extreme, but then I listened to your record and you're just a bunch of pussies. Like, is there another band? You know, and I kind of did that. Most people were just like, fuck you. And, but then this one, it turned out to be the label of this one band kept responding, and we had this like 6 month email exchange, and that's kind of what inspired the comic book because the emails ended up, I was sharing them with a couple friends who were into black metal, and then eventually a friend of a friend published them on a website, like made them got rid of the label's email address and stuff, and the thing with it was like it wasn't like, oh, it wasn't, you know oh, look at these guys, they're stupid. It was more like the thing with the emails, you realize how patient the guy was and kind,
Yeah.
really, in the end, and dealing with an idiot, me. Uh, and so that's kind of what I think is great about the emails. I wouldn't have like wanted people to see him if it was like a mean-spirited thing where I
Right.
was like, "Oh, look at this stupid guy," because that wasn't my intention, or I don't think that's like the reality if you read the emails. It just ends up being like a guy who's being really patient with a total moron. Again, me.
Yeah.
Uh, but so even with those emails, and you can read the original emails at the blackmetaldialogues.com. They're still up there. But even like kind of like getting the gist of that and putting them into the comic book, I had to really like kind of go like, all right, what's happening here? And I just had to be like really, yeah, ruthless with all of it. And it kind of helped that I was like doing other stuff, like in my, I was like
Yeah.
touring a bunch, Tenacious D and stuff. And like, so I like, so, which isn't to say I didn't put 1,000% into the comic, but it made it so like I couldn't mess around,
Yeah.
because I'm like, I have other stuff I have to do. So I think it really made it a better comic that I was just like, I can't be precious at all. I have to just do this and really make the most out of, all the frames and things like that. and kind of like have fun with, okay, we're gonna go, not make like 7 panels a page, be like, oh, we want to just do like a few on this page and have like kind of some epic stuff happen.
Yeah.
So it was super fun. I mean, hopefully it's just the beginning of this, and I'm psyched for people to read it and see. The artwork is just so awesome.
Stunning.
I love it. It like right, there was like a few different artists, we were kind of like checking out, like considering or whatever. Or I shouldn't say considering. I don't mean make it sound like we were going to be like, you're the lucky winner. It was more like, we were looking at stuff and I'd be like, I'd be lucky if any of these guys will do it.
Right.
But fortunately, you know, we asked Artyom and he was into it. So, and I don't even know where he is. He's somewhere in Europe. I've never met him or spoken with him, which just adds to the mystique of the whole thing for me. I mean, hopefully I'll meet him one of
You
these
just
days.
you just love emailing people overseas.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of it. It continues in this process.
It's a safety net for you. So you
Yeah.
have the new comic Dark Regards coming out from Oni Press. You've kind of hinted at the gist of it, but if someone hasn't gotten the chance to check it out, what's your elevator pitch for this comic book series?
I'd say it's like it's based on a real thing. It's based on these original emails which like when they came out, they ended up going viral or whatever, and I think it was like before people were even saying viral, and it was like trolling before I'd ever heard of trolling, and it didn't even intend it to be trolling. I don't really actually view it that way, but anyway, it's kind of a descent into madness, in kind of based on this true story of these emails, and kind of spinning off into like kind of a fantasy world, which I think even in writing the emails, it was, you know, the guy in the comic book is based off of me. He's named Dave Hill, as just one example, and he's a comedian who kind of goes down this fantasy uh, trail of getting into black metal, and all that stuff is real. It's what happened with me, I think, just as a distraction from my own life.
Hmm.
And then, these guys got mad at me, which is true. And like I had other bands writing to me like, I don't, can I swear on this?
Yeah, you can.
They'd be like, fuck you. And the funny thing about the emails, or the original emails that, kind of inspired this, is that there were people that I would get like fan mail from people that understood it was like just in fun and a joke, really.
Yeah.
And then I would get hate mail from people that really thought they were emailing, because it's all I wrote as, my alter ego Lance from the band Witch Taint, which was just a name I made up on the spot. Uh, this goes back, like it started in like 2003, 2004. And it was really just for my own entertainment. And then it kind of went all over the world, and kind of I ended up making a lot of friends in the metal community through it. Um and Malcolm Gladwell, who, I don't know if you're familiar with him, the
Hmm.
author, but he was like kind of a ground floor fan of Witch Taint and like the emails. So he had me on his Broken Record podcast that he does with Rick Rubin. They did a black metal episode, and I was on a few, I'm kind of their resident metal expert or something on the show, but that was the first one I did. And then from that was actually how Hunter Gornson at Oni Press was like, wait a minute, I remember these emails. And so, even that, like, and, the thing with me going on Malcolm's podcast is kind of a thread in the actual comic.
Yeah.
So there's all these real life things, that actually happened that are the basis of the comic. And so the insanity of it is all is real. So I think that's cool. It's like, and I can't believe how long this is, from something that I did like late at night
Hmm.
in my underwear because I couldn't sleep just for my own entertainment to have it, keep going and now be a comic book is pretty wild, and it's fun to see. I always say this to people, like, when you're creating something, it's always the thing that you're doing just for fun. The more you can do that and just do something totally for your own entertainment. In my life, has that's always the thing that ends up like blossoming into something else. It's some cool thing. Like anytime I've ever been like, I'm gonna try to make this good and have people like it, it's like
Right.
garbage.
I, it,
But
it, it's the truth. Like anytime you do something, do it for fun. Like, even creating YouTube videos, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this to get views and likes. And I'm like, you know what? I like talking to creators. So that's what I'm just going to stick to do. And that's what it's been fun for me. And I get to have interviews and conversations like this.
yeah, I think it's just like it's like a lesson I learned over and over again. Is if you're like having fun, that's like the thing that's gonna work. And
Yeah.
anytime you're like, I have a great idea that everyone's gonna love, it's like for me anyway. That's always a disaster.
Yeah. So being so versed in like comedy writing and, music and, novels and things like this, like why was it a comic is the right form to tell this story for you?
I think just just the visuals of it
Hmm.
was is just so fun, and I think that the whole thing, the original thing with the emails and like kind of the original story and the inspiration of it, to have it to be able with comics, you're instantly able to do anything really, and
Yeah.
it's cool to see Artyom, this amazing art of just crazy uh stuff happening. I think it's cooler than, I really like uh you know things that are, hand drawn, as and of course you could make a movie where anything can happen,
Right.
and you can make, with CGI and all these things, you can always make, oh, anything you want, you can make it. And I always think it looks like crap, personally. I'm always like, it's like, not to go down and talk about AI, but like I've never seen any AI thing I'm just like, yeah, that looks like shit.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like I'm like, I want to see Jason and the Argonauts, in terms of movies. Like I just love old stuff like that. I think it's scarier and like cooler when it's not just like computers doing everything. And I think that's what's really exciting about seeing this story told in that format, and it was really exciting to see, RDM. There wasn't like a lot of like, oh, this guy should look like this guy should look like that. It was kind of, I was just excited to see like what he thought, what do these guys look like? And there was I think there was like a couple characters that I was like, no, I think this guy would look a little more like this or whatever,
Yeah.
where we made adjustments, but very minor, like literally just changing someone's haircut or something, you know. I think one character I was like, I think he's a little different, younger than that or whatever. But for the most part, it was just kind of, it was so cool to have him read the story and be like, here's this guy. And that's what I love about collaborating
Yeah.
is to not, you know, I can some, depending on what the thing is, there's always times when I'm micromanaging and like, no, this has to be exactly this. But it was super fun to really just to be like, here's this thing that's happening, and then have Artyom like be like, this is what it looks like to me. So it was like really super fun, uh, and like, like a whole other, it's like like another life to the story to see like his take on it and stuff. So
Yeah.
um, I think that was part of the fun of it, and it was just, I don't know, like just reading it was not, to finally be able to read it is so fun, and be like, oh, like, because when you're just like looking at the script and you're like, don't even know what's what anymore. You start to anything I ever write, like by the end of it, I'm just like, I don't know. It's like cooking a lasagna. Like you finish and you're like, you have it. I'll eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's how I always feel. So to, finish and be like, I'll just take their word on it that I did all right with the script and then have, to have it come back and with all these drawings and to see it come together that way is really an awesome way. And I, hopefully this story will have more life. Whether it be in like another format or something, or maybe more comics. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of endless the possibilities.
Oh, for sure. And one of the things that I noticed reading the first issue, like, in the midst of the storytelling, you can see your humor creeping in through there's moments of like the dialogue with, the lead singer that had passed away in the heavy metal band and the kind of the fever dream that Lance was having and those interactions and things like that. Do you find it hard being a comedian and a musician like to put comedy in a written form?
Not really.
Okay.
Because I think uh it's where I started. Like I was writing before I became a performer. Like before I started performing comedy live, I was always writing. And even like, the original emails uh were, that inspired Dark Regards were like in that period where it's maybe just starting live performance as a comedian. Like I was already a musician for a long time, but um, just kind of starting that. And so like I was just kind of used to it. And it was a time when I was just really writing like every day and stuff. So it was just that was kind of part of it. Like I would just sit down and write for fun. And that's kind of how the emails started. So, um, and it was like done again, like totally, I never, I never thought anyone else would see it. So it was kind of like effortless, or like, because I was just like, I'm just emailing one guy who may or may not respond. So I didn't really even think about it, those initial emails. And now then to do the comic book, I was able to kind of pull some of that stuff is directly lifted from most of the emails in
Okay.
the are just what I wrote at the time. So it was more like when writing the comic book, it was more a case of trying to maintain that headspace that I had then and kind of be able to go back to that. But it's really, I don't know, like there's a part of me that's like a teenager, always 24/7, and I'm a complete moron for my own entertainment. So this comic book was especially just like letting myself just have fun. And going back to what we were just talking about, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna have fun. And I think doing new things, since this was my first comic book series, like it wasn't like, I think anytime you're just like, oh, this is a new thing, my rent's already paid with this other thing,
Yeah.
like it gives you free reign to not give a fuck at all, because
Yeah.
I was just like, I think in the best possible way, like I just truly didn't, I didn't give a fuck. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna have fun doing this and I'm gonna do the best job I can, but it's not like I'm gonna lose my apartment if I fuck it up.
Right.
If that
So,
makes sense.
oh, for sure, 100%. 4 issue series, correct?
Yes.
Yep, and it comes out in May. Uh, Gang, pick up Dark Regards. I read the first issue, and I can't wait to just see where this story goes because it's bonkers.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it you know, gets crazier and crazier as it goes, and so yeah, I think if you like the first issue, it only gets better from there. I think. Even like, not to keep harping on the original emails, but it's the same thing. Like it starts off like because I think the initial emails, I didn't think, I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to write back. And
Right.
then they write back. And then so it ramps up like very quickly
You had kind
into,
of have like the leeway then to say, okay, now we're going to take it to the next level.
yeah. So that happened with that. And then I think it happens with the comic book as well. Just very like, it just goes into complete insanity. And it was also fun to like just kind of, wasn't like beholden to the emails or my own real life in writing. That was just kind of the basis of it. So it was fun to just be able to like, some of the stuff is like super exactly what happened. And, some of the situations of, like in the comic book, I'm living with my friends Anne and Nancy. And at the time I was living with my friends Anne and Nancy. And that's when I wrote the original, that's when I started, kind of going down this dark path. Even though the drawings of them don't look anything like them, which I hope they're okay with. And yeah, there's a lot of, a lot of the other characters are named after my friends, the people in the band. Like in real life, I made a demo with my friend John Kimbrough, Witch Taint demo. That's like the worst music you've ever heard. And so like the John in the band is based on John Kimbrough, my one of my best friends, and it doesn't look anything like him, but
So you're
uh,
the only one that looks like you in the comic.
yeah, we did. It just wasn't. I didn't think it was key to the
Right.
story. Even it didn't really even have to look like me, really. Like, uh, I think my ego got involved at times when I was like, no, I don't. Come on, uh, but. Uh, but in general, I don't think any of it's key to the story, other than like, I think it does make for a better story to know this is like a based on a real thing. You
Yeah.
know, it's all, the jumping off point for all of it is just what happened in my life. So I think in that way, keep my name and kind of look like me and have the band name. And plus, like, yeah, I was kind of like the little, I mean, probably just out of my own ego was the most input I had with Artyom was like, be like, come on, this is what I look like. I don't look like that, And so I was like, I felt bad even doing that. So I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna make him do that with everyone in this thing that's based on a real person. The
Right.
rest, I just kind of let him do. And I also think that's kind of the fun. Hopefully, my friends will agree when they see like, oh, this is based on you, and it looks nothing. Hopefully, hopefully they'll agree.
Nice.
Um,
Well, Dave, I can talk to you forever about just everything, but I want to respect your time. Where can people follow along with you and stay up to date with what you're working on?
I have a website at davehillonline.com, and then I'm on Instagram at Mr. Dave Hill at Mr. Dave Hill, and I'm that on the other social media things, but I'm mostly Instagram is the
Okay.
only app that I really keep up with. Um,
Because there's 80,000 apps that you can always find.
yeah, and I just for my sanity, I can really only commit to updating one at a time, really. So, yeah, that would probably be the best thing.
Yeah. So and is there anything that we haven't gotten to touch on yet that you wanted to, point people to, mention that you got coming out, or anything like that?
Well, I mean, obviously, dark regards. Yeah, I think that would be the main thing. And then, I'm not sure when this episode comes out, but I'm doing an off Broadway. Um, I have my one man show, Caveman in a Spaceship, that's going to come back for 4 nights at La Poisson Rouge in New York City, April 15th, 22nd, 29th, and May 6th. And I'm doing some dates opening for Bill Murray and his Blood Brothers this year. Tomorrow I'm 2 nights in Austin, Texas tomorrow and the next night, and then but I'll be in other cities, and I think like the rest of the year, the
Okay.
kind of strategic hits, no, like I think just a handful of shows throughout the year. But doing that, and then I'll be over. I think I can say this because I think by the time this comes out, it'll be announced. But I'm doing Download Festival
Nice.
uh, at Donington Park outside of London. I'll be performing at that, and which would be cool because you know, when growing up, you always hear about the big rock festivals at like Castle Donington. So to finally be doing that is cool.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I'll be in doing that. I'm going to be in other I know Rotterdam, probably some other European cities,
Okay.
and then I'll be in Australia in August and others. I don't know. I'll be yeah, just kind of
All over.
out doing my thing, and I'm probably forgetting other stuff. I'm
Well, that's
sure.
why people can follow along with you online to see what you're doing and stay up to date.
Yeah, totally.
So, well, Dave, thank you so much for just taking some time out of your schedule to talk about your comic. Dark Regards from Oni Press comes out in May. Go add it to your comic shop. Put it on your pull. It's a the first issue was great. I can't wait to.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for reading it,
Yeah,
and thanks for having me.
absolutely. With that being said, hopefully you can find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out. Peace.
Yes.